What up, people? It's your boy, Master Trudy, out here with a Stargirl review. So we've got episode 13, the season finale, part 2 of the season finale, airing today. And I've got to say, watching the season finale, it was the shortest episode, I would have to say, of the whole season, but it gives me a lot of hope for season 2, which I was worried about, especially when I thought it's like Jeff Johns knew the trepidations I had about his whole entire Stargirl's Rogues roster getting offed, mainly in the first season. But, I probably have hope of where this can go. So, getting into it, pretty much summary of it is that, as you know, everybody was taking control of the machine that was taking over people's minds for Project New America. And we see that, to cut it short, basically, the team is coming to get in, and we get some, fantastic brawl. We really get to see Stargirl. I think everything that culminated from this whole season, her learning from her mistakes and moving on. It's really good, and I think this is a fantastic. And this is what makes this a fantastic first season, in the first place. You know what I mean? Um, so pretty much, they managed to block. They managed to use some, great work. Beth, um, Beth, pretty much, with the help of Doctor Midnight, manages to go ahead and activate sound blockers, basically to block brainwave signal, so that Shining Knight and Pat could be free. And once that happens, they regroup for a showdown, a very good showdown with the Injustice Society. After they find a doorway to the machine. Um, we get once again this season's choreography. Is pretty good. The fight scenes were very remarkable. Everybody was having at it. Icicle Senior versus Pat versus Stargirl and Stripes. Of course, you got Yolanda and Tigress. You got Rick against Sportsmaster. You got Shining Knight versus Dragon King. All very good fights. All very well and done. And basically, um, they got Barbara and basically the new Doctor Midnight, I'll call her that, Beth, pretty much goes in and they're still trying. Well, Barbara's still under their control. Um, but what I found interesting is that before this, everybody in the city has been fixated. And there's this little girl who's trying to get her dad to wake up. You just see Icicle Senior, who's one of the best villains I have seen on TV recently. He pretty much says, "Hey, what's the matter?" And she's like saying, "There's something wrong with my dad." And he's like saying, "Well, don't worry. Everything will be over. Your dad is going to become a new and better person." And the little girl was like, "But my dad is already a good person." And he's like, "Oh, no, little girl, you don't know what you're saying. Well, you have a nice day." And so he's like so warped in his ideology, basically. And, that was just something I wanted to bring up back. But what is also interesting is in the catacombs, we got Rick and Yolanda have like, a good conversation, like saying like, "Hey, killing is bad," but Rick is like, "No, killing is I have to kill Grundy." And why do you think it's bad? Is it because God told you it's wrong? And Yolanda, being a Catholic, said, "Yeah." And Rick is like, "Well, God shouldn't have allowed had bad things to happen to my parents." And me being a Catholic, I can understand people who have that questioning in God's faith, even though I feel confident in my faith, but that's just neither here nor there. But I just found it, those existential questions are very, very good. But to the show itself and back to the battle, it's a very good battle, Bill. Very well choreographed, and and Dragon King is giving it the Shining Knight, very giving it to Shining Knight. And during their fights, they break open, um, basically break open Shiv's door, and she starts to get out. And Shining Knight is down for the count almost, and Dragon King's about to take him down, and of course, Cindy kills him. Because she has essentially been locked in that dungeon for like half the season, which is remarkable. It's actually amazing that she was in a whole room for like half the season. So Cindy sees that. Well, not Cindy. Sorry. Um, Courtney sees that, oh my gosh, my team is getting worked because Tigress is giving it to Yolanda again, and Sports Mag is giving it to Rick again. And so she decides to do some quick coordination. She goes in, kind of messes up Tigress a bit, which allows Yolanda to catch her breath and go in for for a knockout blow. Does the same thing to Sportsmaster, and then Rick gets a second win and gives him a knockout blow as well. And then you see an awesome combination with Stargirl and Pat, and they manage to take down Grundy basically. Take down Grundy. So yeah, it was a great fight. And Pat's about to take down Icicle Senior, and then Grundy comes in and just bashes him in. And what is probably it might have been intentionally or unintentionally funny, but Rick was like, "Yeah, I'm ready for this smoke. I'm gonna take you down, Grundy." And he's charging Grundy, and Grundy just like gives him the cell pimp slap, and he just goes to a wall. I was like, "Dang." I was almost about to say, well, that was pretty anticlimactic for building that up, but that's neither here nor there. So the gambler pretty much says, hey, Jordan, if you want your plan to succeed, man, you know, you're going to have to go and find Beth and Barbara because they're messing up with the connection. Brainwave has already left the place. It's like Brainwave's already left the place, but if you want this plan to succeed, like you're going to need to, do what you got to do. So Jordan manages to sneak out. Meanwhile, Courtney, Pat attacks Grundy and tells him to like, hey, you go and find the machine and do what we came here to do. So you had Courtney and Yolanda getting ready to head for the door, but then I don't know why I expected better of Cindy, but she came in here wanting to really still kill Courtney. So they begin to duke it out and fight and they begin to fight. So it leaves Yolanda to go in, and then we see some of the Dragon King's minions come in, and Yolanda has to take them out. Yolanda has to take him out, basically. And then we flash forward to sorry, not flash. Well, not well. Let us flash forward. Basically, the fight between Cindy and Cindy and Courtney goes very well. It's actually very fantastic, as it's always been. But Courtney's now learned after Cindy has more or less given her two L's. Third time's the charm for Courtney. She goes ahead and starts taking her down, having learned. I like that because this ultimate episode, this finale, really shows that hey, Courtney's picked up all of the lessons in all of her fights. Like she's definitely learned. Like she has had no win this entire season, except maybe by accident, and that was primarily through Pat when she first met Brainwave in episode 2. So, but we see that basically after all of that, she takes down Cindy, saying, "Hey, I don't have time for this." Simultaneously, after Yolanda takes down Dragon King's goons, we see one left, and he's shaking, and Yolanda's like, "I thought that he was about to like run away, but we see it's Henry," and Yolanda's like shocked, and Henry's like, "Hey." It's like I didn't die in the catacombs. It's like I didn't die in the catacombs, and my father didn't kill me. I've been using these robes from the Dragon King so I can hide, basically, doing what we have to do. My dad's not here. We can find a way to stop his machine. And he's like saying, "Do you remember what I told you back in the catacombs?" And she's like, "Yeah, okay, good." So he's like saying, "Now, now, where's your friends? Now, where are your friends?" And that was mistake number one. Yolanda picks up, slashes my man's throat, only to reveal that it was Henry's dad, Brainwave, who was using the psychic powers to basically disguise his face. So yeah, Yolanda killed him. I didn't see that coming, but yeah, that's another member of the JSA finished. So we see that basically Courtney manages to come in and she sees that Brainwave's dead. And so he's like, he's basically like, hey, what? It's like, what happened? Like, I had to kill him. And and Courtney's like, whoa, whoa. But of course, there's no time to go. They find the machine. Um, they find the machine. long story short, definitely, they just destroy the antenna array that's sending out the signal, and everything's gone, and the city and half the country is saved. And the thing is that the weird thing is that the array was right in the middle of the football field at Blue Valley High, so that's kind of funny, as we'll see as I get to the end of this episode. So after that's destroyed, Pat is still fighting. Um, well, not necessarily. After that, all the adults are released and all are freed, and the gambler's like, "Oh gosh, the signal's gone." And we see that after everything, Courtney's mom comes too, but Icicle Senior comes in and he ain't happy, and he's like, "You ruined everything." And so his first sight's like, "No more Doctor Midnight." So he finds the goggles and essentially destroys them, leaving Beth with nothing. I kind of felt bad. I really felt bad. But yeah, Doctor Midnight. Any trace of Doctor Midnight is now officially killed permanently by Icicle Senior, which is kind of saddening. And of course, Beth is furious and she tries attacking Icicle Senior, but he just knocks her back and takes Barbara hostage. Of course. Meanwhile, in the catacombs, we see that Grundy and Stripe have been having quite the fight. And I almost thought that, wow, Stripe is almost too much for Grundy. I didn't expect that. But of course, the tides turn quickly, and Grundy just starts manhandling Icicle Senior. I mean, not Icicle Senior. Pat rips off both the legs, rips off an arm, rips open the chest plate to see Pat. Pat is getting ready to accept his fate until Rick comes back after getting a third win, and he's like saying, "It's my turn now. It's my turn. I want to get in this action." So, everybody basically hears that, hey, your wife's in trouble. So Pat decides to leave. Rick says he has this. Um, he has this basically. And what I do like is that in the following things, the gambler's like, I think the gambler might be one of my low key favorite. He's definitely a favorite of mine after all of this. He's like, well, this is done. He deletes all the information on all the computers, basically, and make sure there's like no trace, no evidence can be tied back to him. And he leaves. Basically, he says like, "Man, I know when to hold him, I know when to fold him, and I gotta fold him today, but not without a little bit of insurance." So he leaves, and of course, nobody catches him, and that's that. Meanwhile, we got an interesting conversation between Jordan and Barbara. Jordan's like saying, "Hey, look at this." It's like, "Look at this city because they're on the clock tower. Do you remember this place? Like, you know how Blue Valley was before it's like before how I got here. When I got here, I transformed everything. The city is doing great. Everything is happening. We can do that." It's like, we can help America. It's like, we can help America. And she's like saying, it's like, "You've killed all the people." It's like, "You've killed all these people." It's like, she mentioned the magician's family, including himself, and and basically Henry, Henry Jr. And he's like saying, and he's trying to still rationalize, like saying, "Hey, look, 500,000 people die from cancer every day, every year in America. Now, if I told you I had the cure for cancer and I had to kill 500,000 people to do it, what would you say?" And that's an interesting notion. You know, an interesting notion indeed. But she says that, hey, it's still not right, and go, Jordan's like saying off. It's like, "Hey, you can. I want you. I still need to. I will succeed. We can build a new America, basically, and I can do it." It's like, "I can do it." It's like, "And you can do it with me too, and so can Courtney. We can. I can protect her from the others. You don't have to worry. We can find a place and we can start over." And she's like saying, "No, it's like you're crazy. You're out of your mind. Your wife would be horrified if she knew what happened." And he's like, "You don't know my wife." And it's clear that she doesn't, because she's like, "Hey, before I die, I want you to take vengeance on everybody." So that was something. So we see that basically Pat comes in and he's like saying, "Hey, get off my wife. I'm here to protect her." And he's like, "You don't have, what are you going to do, Pat? You have no powers. You have no stripe. How are you going to stop me?" Saying, "I'm going to stop you." with our daughter. And then, of course, Courtney comes in. I forgot to mention that we had a little heartwarming thing where Pat managed to break somewhat, try to fight the control when Courtney called him dad. So that was nice. But anyway, we see that Courtney and Icicle Senior begin their fight, and yeah, they fight. It's just saying you're not. He's saying you will not stop me, and everything like that. But of course, the little explosion happens when they overload the staff. He falls. Courtney is saved by Yolanda from the fall. Pat saves Barbara from the fall. But of course, that's not enough to stop Icicle Junior, Icicle Senior, and Icicle Senior is saying, "I'm going to kill you all," and I don't know whether I had a problem with this, but it kind of was like I was kind of like, really? Basically, Mike, who I hadn't seen all episode, I was like, oh, this is looking good, comes in and just runs over and shatters Icicle Senior, and I'm like, hmm, that's kind of Deadpool 2-ish, but it is what it is. So yeah, the fight's over, the day is won, and everything is great in gravy. Um, First of all, we cut back to our heroes. Well, first of all, we cut back to the aftermath. Gambler has already cleaned house and everything like that, and he heads back to the old headquarters, basically. And I think that I guess Beth knows his identity, but for the most part, I don't think that people really know his identity. He wasn't outed, but he has his hat and his walking cane, and he's just watching the news, and everybody explained it away as an earthquake that happened in Blue Valley, basically. Um, and then we see in the background that Shade, who, as we heard, betrayed Jordan a few episodes ago by the through the Dragon King's narration, saying it's like, "Oh, Jordan, I told you it wouldn't work." And then we see after that, after that we see Cindy basically going through the old storages of the Injustice Society, and she finds like a diamond, and she says Eclipso. So she's got her thing going on. And so, you know, so yeah, basically, there's still going to be people out there. The heroes go back to school. We see that it's like it's nothing's ever nothing happened, and the field is perfectly fine, basically. But Shining Knight decides to go his own way, and yeah, he decides to find the old members of his team, the Miracle Seven. So part of that team included Vigilante, of course, and the original team also had Green Arrow and Speedy. So who knows what type of stuff we're gonna have there? Maybe that's for the CW, but I pray they don't go that route. I'll get to the CW later in this review. Um, but yeah, 6 weeks fast forward. Everybody's having Christmas. Everybody's doing well. Everybody's happy. Everybody's doing extremely well, and you know, it's a happy ending. And then, of course, we get the last end credit scene where we see that Starman is well alive and he's looking for Pat. So that's that. So you know how I do pros, neutrals, and cons. My pros will definitely go to will definitely go to goes to Courtney for her growth. Basically, she's definitely grown on me on as a character. Um, really liked her fighting style. Really liked how she's learned. Really, everything that she's done. It's been done very well. Um, Rick, I didn't get into this in the past review. It's another pro of mine, but I think it came to a head where he spared Grundy. I forgot to mention that. Like he was really beating on Grundy. He was preparing to end his life with a rock to crush his skull, but he was like, "Why don't you fight back?" Because Grundy was like cowering in fear, like, "I don't want to fight." And so he decides to spare him, and he became the bigger man. But yeah, Rick was really well written in this episode. Really liked him as well. Of course, Pat, as I've always mentioned, I like Pat. Very well done. Very brave, was a true hero, family man, and whatnot. Yeah, family man to the core. Um, he's been an all-around great character, and I've really liked Pat. No doubt about it, he is that guy. Um, Jordan, another pro. I've complex villain, one of the best villains I've seen on TV so far. If I had to call it the CW-ish type of thing, I put him on the lines of he's a top tier villain in that universe. Unfortunately, I have to mention that. Oh my goodness. So another pro was definitely the gambler. Small scenes, but the way that he just cleaned up, very good. Very much liked it. Um, the pacing of this episode, of course, is another pro. The choreography is another pro. It was fantastic and whatnot. This is good stuff. Neutrals. The only neutral I have is really Mike beating Mike beating Icicle Senior. I thought that was kind of yes, it was anticlimactic, but at the same time, Mike had to have some kind of win. So I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him. And then I have no cons. This was a great episode. This was a great season finale. I give this a 10 out of 10. It was great. Now for the future, there's a lot now that one could do with this episode. As we've seen, I was worried about the villains of this episode and what would happen basically. Because, in a span of a season, the Injustice Society, you lost the magician, you lost the fiddler, both him and his wife, he's gone, and she is gone too. You've lost Braidwave, he's dead. The Dragon King is dead as well. And now Icicle Senior, I'm gonna leave him as a question mark because, like I said, the only reason that's primarily my reasoning thinking of putting Mike killing Icicle as my neutral is because I don't think he's dead. That just seems very cheap. We'll say he's indisposed of now. So that's five members of the ISA out of the picture. You have the gambler, um, and yeah, you have five out of the way. So I was worried, as I was about to say, about where the season could go, but we clearly have things that can go many ways. First of all, you still have the gambler out there. You've got Tigress and Sportsmaster still out there. Obviously, no officers seem to have gone into the catacombs because the whole truth wasn't told. We don't know what their status is, and who knows what they could do. That leads us to the second part where you have the Shade coming in, who will definitely probably look to take over the Injustice Society of America, clearly because he felt Jordan's plan was not good at all. And, the gambler is a kind of man who will take an opportunity where he sees it, and probably Tigress and Sportsmaster as well. So there's a possibility that you can have a new ISA with, a new leader with three old members. That also leaves Cindy. Clearly, Cindy, from the way it looks like, wants to have no parts of the ISA. She's ready to forge her own path, but not without stealing some secrets from the ISA where she found Eclipso. So she clearly has her own agenda. We'll see where that goes. We also have to think about potential children of the ISA. Now that's something that kind of where I thought was derailed, where the magician's son, dead, Henry Jr. also dead. Ooh, excuse me. But you still have Artemis, which I doubt she'll be that much of a villain. But we did have the fiddler's son, who at the beginning of the episode was very violent and, went to his bully, per his mother's advice, took his tuba and smashed it across my man's face. And he lived, but he definitely has issues, of course. And it's clear, though, that he may or may not be a villain. Because while he has tendencies, at the same time, his mother's dead. And sooner or later it's going to come out that Tigress killed his mother. Who knows? Maybe he goes after Artemis for revenge. But, you know, like I said, I was initially worried about where this season could go, considering that so much was kind of what I felt was kind of rushed, you know. But um, you know, who knows? Who knows? There's definitely more hope. In addition, we could see Pat's old team again, and with Starman back, who knows what new villainy could come forth because of a bigger hero. So, quite excited. Quite excited. On a side note, who knows what's going to happen to Beth? Um, you know, all of Dr. Midnight's technology is gone. But, I always felt that she was an oracle type of person. So maybe after her bout with the gambler, she'll be eyes and ears, be their tech support, be their hacker, be their information broker. Many things can happen. Her role doesn't have to diminish, but she doesn't need to be in the field to have an important role. So yeah, that's Stargirl, season one in the books. Thank y'all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, hit the notifications to make sure you're notified. And comment below to give me your opinions of this season and this episode. Once again, I do these reviews for you, the people. Just want to discuss good shows like this and get your views on them. Thank y'all for watching. I should have new comic book reviews tomorrow. Peace.